Meanwhile, attention is also focused on Iran, which has in recent days warned that Tehran-backed proxies in the region could attack Israel unless a ceasefire is agreed. Iran's role in supporting proxies in the region, such as Hamas and Hezbollah, is well known. It's all centered around a rivalry between Iran and Israel that goes back decades.
Just days before Israel was attacked by Hamas, Iran's supreme leader made his opinion of Israel clear. This cancer, Israel, will definitely be uprooted at the hands of the Palestinian people themselves and resistance forces across the region. Israel has long accused Iran of supporting the Hamas terrorist group. Following the attack, Israel issued strong condemnation of Tehran.
Iran
backs Hamas. I think that 90% of Hamas's military budget comes from Iran. It funds, it organizes, it leads, it trains. There's no Hamas without this support system, just like there's no Hezbollah without Iran. Israel and Iran actually had close ties until the Iranian Revolution in 1979. After that, Supreme Leader declared Israel an enemy of the newly formed Islamic Republic. Despite hostilities, a period of relative calm followed. The year 2000 brought a change when the Iran-backed militia Hezbollah took control in southern Lebanon, right on Israel's border. Since then, Israel and Hezbollah have had regular clashes. Hezbollah is one of Iran's proxy militant groups in the region. Through these groups, the Islamic Republic has formed what it calls a ring of fire around Israel. Hezbollah in Lebanon on Israel's northern border, Shia militias in Syria, and the Houthis in Yemen to the south. And looming large are Iran's attempts to create its own nuclear weapons, a threat to Israel and the entire region.
And joining me now for more is Dr. Ali Fatholah-Nejad. He's director of the Center for Middle East and Global Order here in Berlin and author of the book Iran in an Emerging New World Order, From Ahmadinejad to Rouhani. Dr. Fatholah-Nejad, Israel has stated its aim is to, quote, destroy Hamas. But can that happen without Israel addressing the support that Hamas gets from Iran?
Well, that's a very good question. In terms of the Israeli aim to annihilate Hamas, we have to distinguish between Hamas's military capabilities and its ability to wage war in the future. And Hamas as a political organization, as a social movement. I think the former would be Israel's main aim, but it's going to be very complicated given the complications that are inherent with the ground offensive. But at a larger picture, of course, Israel has to address Iran. The Iran problem, so to speak, because Iran is a major supporter of Hamas and is probably also is going to continue that support. So we're going to see if in the wake of the current war, we're going to see a much more robust Israeli and perhaps American posture vis-a-vis Iran when it comes to Iran's expansive regional policies.
Do you think Israel makes a distinction between Hamas as a political party and Hamas as a terror organization simply because in the European Union, the US, UK, Hamas is a terror organization, period?
No, absolutely. I mean, this is the priority that Israel has to address, first of all, Hamas as a terrorist organization, as a military organization. But of course, Hamas is quite different from, Daesh, the Islamic State, or Al-Qaeda, because it has a kind of social base. That is not to say that is extremely popular in Gaza. We know from surveys that have been conducted just prior to October 7th that a small part of the Gazan population is supporting Hamas and are happy with Hamas, and the great majority are not. But of course, Hamas is part of the Muslim Brotherhood, and as such is an organization that is beyond a mere terrorist organization, whereas the means it uses are primarily connected to terrorism.
The longer Israel's war against Hamas drags out, do you think there is a risk that the Iran-Israel rivalry transforms into open confrontation between the two?
Well, as I've stated before, Iran is probably not interested in provoking a great war with Israel and perhaps also the United States, because this would pose a tremendous challenge to regime security and stability. So the Iranian side fully knows that. This is why we've seen that they were reverting back from their initial belligerent rhetoric after October 7th, just a few days after that. From all top officials, from the president, the supreme leader, the IRGC chief. So they have all said the October 7th attack has been done by Palestinian resistance only. So this is a sign of concern within the Iranian leadership that a larger conflagration may occur, at which end there is a direct military confrontation, which is too risky for Iran. But short of that, Iran, I think, gonna continue using its axis of resistance, the kind of militia network it has, from Hezbollah to groups, pro-Iranian groups in Syria and in Iraq, all the way down to Yemen with the Houthis, in order to make an Israeli operation against Hamas much more difficult.
The Iranian government doesn't recognize Israel's right to exist and supports militant proxies in the region. How much support is there among Iranians for this policy?
Well, there is a tremendous gap when it comes to the issue of Israel and Palestine between state and society. As you have rightly suggested, the Islamic Republic has been a sworn enemy of the state of Israel since its very inception in 1979, because of because of the regime's anti-Zionist ideology. But it has been using and abusing the Palestinian cause in order to project power in the region, but also beyond, in order to proclaim itself as a guarantor of Palestinian rights, whereas in reality, of course, the picture has been much more complicated. But after 4 decades of regime propaganda on the issue of Israel and Palestine, we see quite a strong societal backlash that a large part of Iranian society do not believe anymore in the main pillars of the regime's propaganda, be it the anti-women pillar, be it anti-Americanism, or being anti-Israeli. So on all those fronts, we see a huge difference between the regime and society, and we've seen a lot of societal backlash over the last, few weeks in Iran from various groups, from students all the way to football fans, that are also at the same time quite cognizant of the fact that the regime is using this kind of war to its own purposes, and at the end of which it's Iranian society that's going to suffer this way or the other.
Do you think one is reaching a stage in which it's going to become increasingly harder for the Iranian government to justify this continued expenditure on its proxies in the region at a time that Iranians are going through dire economic difficulties?
Because of this, we see since actually Iranian involvement in Syria after the Arab Spring, we see that the elite has been cognizant of this societal opposition to its regional adventurism, and so it has, calibrated its rhetoric accordingly. For instance, in the case of Syria, it has told the Iranian people that, first of all, it's a war on terror. Secondly, there are going to be some economic dividends, so none of which has been really true. And also we see that there has been a prominent protest slogan since at least the 2009 Green Movement from the Iranian protest movement, which is neither Gaza nor Lebanon, my life for Iran. So there is a tremendous skepticism from Iranian society vis-a-vis this kind of regime preference to engage outside borders in order to project power only.
We'll leave it there for the time being, but thanks so much for joining us today, Dr. Ali Fatholah-Nejad. Thank you so much.
Thank you.